just make up a bunch of stuff and we'll
That's
blame it on Matt Baker. And then we're going to talk about 3 things you might not know about West USA, and they are 3 things that you need to know. And of course, we have our designated broker, Dwayne Fouts, who's going to stop by. And well, we're going to talk about all the things that I'm probably doing wrong and why we are discussing them at the brokerage level. So, so that being said and done, let's rock and roll and get right into some announcements. But as always, if you've got any comments or questions, please feel free to email us at webinar@westusa.com. All right, Nick, what do we got for announcements?
We've got
all right.
Oh, you got it? Okay. There you go, buddy.
No, go ahead. I'll just go ahead.
Oh, this is your show. It's your world. I'm just living in it, brother.
All right. Well, of course, we've got some office meetings coming up and some learning opportunities. Tomorrow from 10 to 12, we've got Lori Gray from the City of Goodyear Economic Developer. This is a great opportunity.
Everybody
I think
should go to
all
this.
of us, Todd, we need to know what's going on with each of our cities as far as the development goes, instead of acting surprised. Like all of a sudden they pop up something, we're like, hey, I didn't know about that. And it's our job to know about it. So it's a great opportunity to know what's going on in the City of Goodyear. And as always, all of our events can be found on your dashboard on the calendar. So just click on the calendar button and get signed up. So this is going to be at the Palm Valley Community Center in Goodyear. Also tomorrow for our Ahwatukee folks. And of course, any of these events are open for any West USA agent from any office, but it's a St. Patty's Day event. So you want to RSVP with Donna Leeds, let her know that you're going so that she can make the proper reservations. It's a great happy hour event tomorrow from 5 to 6:30. If you were looking for some new headshots, now that COVID's come to a close, you might be a little larger than you were before COVID, or you might have lost some weight, and so you might want to get a new headshot done. So this is going to be at our Chandler office, $30 per person. This is going to be through Rocket Lister. So good opportunity. I like every couple of years to get a new headshot done.
Will they enhance the photos too, Mike?
And they're going to have to if I'm getting them done. That's for dang sure. I test every photographer's skill. Like if you can make this look good, you are good. You are good. And then our next social hour for surprise is this Wednesday from 4:30 to 6:30. State 48 Brewery. So yeah, if you're interested in attending any and all of the happy hours, just hang out with Nick Wiedekamp, hang out in his car. He manages to hit every single one of them.
It's gonna be a busy week this week, but I'll be at every happy hour. So if you want to come and chat, come on down to any one of them, and I will be there.
All right, and then as always, every Monday afternoon you can join Bob Stevens for Don't Do That. So that's every Monday afternoon from 2 to 2:30. Once again, all of these events can be found on your West USA dashboard. Just go to the West USA calendar and get signed up. All right, Todd, what is going on in the
right,
market?
Mike, thanks very much. Okay, everybody, thanks for joining us today. Today we're going over the Greater Phoenix market stats for the week ending today, March 14th, and the week prior. So let's get right into those numbers. 31 days closed on market, a 1.37. That's right, a 1.37. We are over a 1 month supply. Absorption rate is sitting at 73.12. 801,000 is our new average list price. Our average sale price for the last week was 562,000, and our list price to sale price retention is just over 101%. Taking a look at inventory, we're sitting down at 5554, down again just a little bit. And again, the reasoning is if you're taking a look at the what we are adding to the new listings, you'll see that it's just not that 2,400 number that we're always shooting for. Pending sitting at 4.3% increase at 5246, and closed units for the month a little too early still at 1703. 2,132 is the magic number this past week for new listings. Again, when we're under that 24, 25 number, we're just not replacing the inventory, and that's the biggest problem. This under 500,000 sector of or price ranges is now staying relatively consistent, just at that 54, just under that 54% mark of the entire MLS. But again, days on market for the entire segment there at 39. You can slide your eyes right into that DOM section on each one and see 0 to 200,000 is at 53 days on market. 200 to 300,000 is at 39 days on market. And as you go up, you can see prices 400 to 500 at only 32 days. So the numbers on the right represent the average. Taking a look at the $500 to $1 million price range, you can see that average is 45 days. If you're looking for that sweet spot or that spot that's selling the most, it's that $500,000 to $600,000 market. And then, of course, over $1 million sitting at 100 days on market, finally creeping up a little bit out of the double digits into the triples, and we're sitting at 13.6. Hope that's not an omen for the temperature, but we'll just see what's going on. So middle of the column of the spreadsheet shows 2 years ago, the 2019 numbers, actually almost 3 years ago now. 2021 is the column just to the very left of that, and this is reporting the same week each year. So again, you get a chance to look at the retrospect of exactly what took place. So 2,308 is what we took this past week. That was up from a week ago at 1918. But if you slide your eyes a little further, 2021, we only took 1,896 listings. So 23 is a super huge number. Not only that, if you take a look at the under the 2019 numbers, you'll see it was 2,064. We took more listings this past week than we did in 2019, which was a banner year prior to the COVID. So that's a really good sign. So yes, I'm downplaying we need to have those strong numbers, but at the same token, it was a good number this past week in comparison to the year-over-year references. Taking a look at inventory is at 5,675. Again, just a little creep in the marketplace, which was nice. We're looking at 720 properties incoming soon. 4,564 single-family detached, 51 new home construction units, and 57 is what the non-distressed inventory represents. Just a shout out to the distressed property family out there. This is, again, if you look at the numbers way to the left, that's the percentage of the entire MLS inventory those categories represent. We're less than 0.3% of 1%. So again, there is just no shadow inventory. Looking at pending or distressed inventory, looking at pending, 5,031 is the number of active pending units this past week. And again, these are point in time numbers, and we compare them against point in time the week before of 5,292. So a few properties have either canceled in escrow or have already gone to pending. Or closed, I should say, excuse me. But sliding our eyes to the right, we'll see 5831 this past year and 5440 3 years ago. So even, again, these numbers are pretty close, but it's in the red ticker box because it's just not high enough. Truthfully, we need more inventory, but we need more people right now in the marketplace. And I think it's probably because, people aren't listing their homes, Mike, because they're thinking about where am I going to go? I don't want to have to do that. So, of course, that's where our knock program comes in, which again allows people, and this is, all you have to say to people is, how would you like to find your new home, purchase it, move into it, and then be able to sell your existing property? You have up to 6 months, and of course, nothing's taking that long. So the whole entire process, you don't have to worry about people trampling through your home, showing your home, all those type of convenience things. It's just the benefit straight out of being able to purchase a home as a non-contingent purchase and then be able to sell your home after. What a sweetheart deal. And it's 1.25% is the cost of the program, the fees, 125 basis points. But in that particular situation, there's no origination fee, which would have been 1% anyway. So the ultimate cost of that loan is only 0.25% to play the game. So I think that's really an important factor right now. And again, closing, if you don't have inventory to close, you can't close it. So, but the close is all closed, short sale, and distressed inventory is still right about that 0.3 of 1%. So just finishing up the numbers down here, we have a 0.7 month supply. Actually, it should be a 1.35 month supply, so that was an error there. 132% is what our inventory absorption was, which again is reflective of the incorrect number. So that should be, I don't know why that slide came up differently. But if you'd like the spreadsheet with the accurate numbers on it, I'll repost it on the closed Facebook groups for everybody today with the correct numbers on it. Okay, and then the average list price just over 800, like we talked about. Average sale price about 583, and finally taking a look at the list price to sale price retention numbers, 101.34. So again, it's just floating right in that area where it really needs to come down under that 100 number. And what this again represents is what was the difference in the list price and the purchase price or the sale price of the offer that was just accepted at the time it was accepted. So this is just really good to understand. This for decades has been about 97.8%, about a 2% negotiation. And so when you start seeing this over 100, especially in a market right now where everybody's pricing properties over comparable market value, they're really this is a pretty strong market, and the prices are continuing to go up. So that's what we're seeing right at this particular moment. If you can't get the listing first, then put them in the knock program and put them into their new house, and then list the property. So thanks everybody. Appreciate you. Appreciate your time today, Mike.
I appreciate it, Todd. As always, good stuff. And of course, those are the different and many ways that you can check out the numbers and everything and all the information that you find on our weekly webinar. As I mentioned earlier, Matt Baker is on a vacation, but he did send us some numbers. So let's jump ahead and take a look at what's going on with the numbers, Todd. And interest rates still, creeping up a little bit. But and I noticed that Dwayne's there, keeping my seat warm. I think one of the things that we have to keep in mind, and it's that balance of we have buyers freaking out. Interest rates are going up. They're higher than they would have been for me 2 months ago. But these numbers, they're still at record lows, right? These interest rates are still pretty amazing to borrow money to buy a house, and not only buy a house, but buy an appreciating asset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. I mean, this is the average blue collar worker's 401k.
No doubt. Yeah.
All right.
That's what a home actually ends up being. It might not be all that much money people were intending to have when they retire, but boy, when they are done working and they have no pensions.
At the end of the day, it's probably the best investment that any person can make, and so yes, these rates are up a little bit over what we've seen in the past, but they're still very, very attractive. And if you're in the market, better get in there quicker.
Yeah.
And Mike, to that point, sure, there's a lot of younger buyers in the marketplace today, but still the largest portion of buyers is still that 45 to 60-year-old market. And they remember when interest rates were 13.9% and 14 point. I mean, my first property in 1983, was just a little 1,030 square foot raised ranch in Massachusetts. But I can tell you it was 13.9%. And at the time, I thought I got a super deal.
Well, and the other thing, and I would just challenge all of my clients who complain about interest rates. I'm like, okay, well, let's take a look at your balance, what you have on your credit card, and I guarantee you these interest rates are a lot lower than what you're paying on your MasterCard, Visa, or American Express. All right, so those are a look at what's going on as far as interest rates and mortgages go. I'm going to jump right along to our 3-pack, and I'm going to bring in Nick Wiedekamp, our Executive Vice President, into this conversation. Nick, I've just kind of given some thought of just every once in a while, we just need to remind agents about some things that we offer that they may not be aware of. I had spoken a couple weeks ago to one of our very, very top producers who'd been with West USA for I don't know how many years and had no idea that we had I Found Agent website. So we can't ever run under any assumptions of what we know and what we don't know. Partially because we're not reading all the emails that we send out, but that's another conversation for another day. So the first one, Nick, and I'm and Dwayne, you can chime in, but we're rolling out a brand new broker number. So what everybody needs to do, and I've already done this, you literally need to open up your cell phone right now and program West USA Broker and program this number.
I would just say,
Moving
as long as
forward,
you're with West USA, if you're not a member of our brokerage team, we can our brokerage, we can definitely get you transferred over, but we still want you to call your broker for any questions. So this is for our West USA agents. They now have a direct line to be able to get a hold of our agents after hours and on weekends.
all right, yeah, and so yeah, that's a good point. So if you're not with West USA, still call the 602-942-4200 number, and we can make these arrangements for you. We'll get you over. But that's the number that you want to need to have, that you want to have in your phone. This is now going to be the number when you put in a call to our broker team after hours and on weekends. And when they call you back, this is going to be the number that they should be calling you back from, so that you can recognize that you now have the broker returning your phone call. During weekends and after hours, you can call back the number. You can text back and forth the number to make those proper arrangements to actually get on the phone. And you can call this number after hours and on weekends as well. So, Dwayne, important to have this number programmed into your phone.
Sure, this is going to solve some of the problems we've had in the past from the broker side of things. We've had agents play phone tag with us when we were calling back when they had left us a voicemail because we had blocked numbers that we were calling from, and that was problematic. A lot of folks didn't want to answer blocked numbers, which I get. So this number will really help in that regard. So put that into your phone as the broker hotline, broker support, whatever you want to put it in there, so you know when we're calling back, that's who's calling you. Additionally, you'll have the capability of texting as well, and leaving voicemails for the broker on call at that point. If you call us after hours, that's the best. If you call during hours, it's going to go through the West USA normal process. Yeah. So you can use that number anytime you want to reach out to a broker.
And this came about, it's something that we've been talking about for a long time, but this year in the annual survey that we send out to all of our agents every single year, this came up over and over and over again. So we do read those surveys. We promise we look at all the comments. And just because of the overwhelming request to have a direct way of getting a hold of brokers after hours, we went to work on making sure we could get this done ASAP. So, it's a kudos to all of our agents taking the time to fill out that survey. We did have about 1,200 of our agents reach out to us on that survey piece. So we do go through that, and it's important to us to make sure we can make those changes when we can. So this is fun. We've been doing it for 2 months now, I think. We've been testing through it. So this is the official announcement. Again, if you call during hours, which you don't have to worry about what that means, but during hours, it's still going to route you to the main line where you'll talk to our amazing answering service, and you'll get to speak to Terry, and she will route the calls. After hours, you'll be able to get a hold of a broker directly, so you're not worrying about going through any back and forth, leaving a message and having them call you back.
Well, this is perfect because my father-in-law calls from a blocked number. So I've got two options. Am I talking to my father-in-law, or am I going to be talking to Dwayne, and it's just not worth the risk? So then it just goes to voicemail. Well, Nick, I wanted to bring you in on the conversation. Well, one of the things I think that a lot of agents, especially that have been with West USA, aren't aware that I think it's been over a year now, probably a lot longer than that we actually have a healthcare option for our agents. One of the biggest challenges, a lot of agents can't make that decision to go from part-time to full-time real estate because they don't really have a healthcare option. They can't afford to lose their healthcare, or it's just the program that agents are on right now are so it's so expensive that they might not even have the health care. And I know for me, a lot of a misnomer out there. I know a lot of brokerages out there are offering health care, and it's really not health care. At the end of the day, you call them, it's a bait and switch. You get in there, and it's more of a discount plan. And a discount plan is not health care coverage. But I know West USA spent a lot of time finding a right company to help our agents with healthcare. So Nick, jump on in.
Yeah. So real quick for everybody, I just chatted out the link. It's westusahealthcare.com. That will get you to the site where you can schedule a one-on-one conversation with a licensed insurance professional. Healthcare is incredibly relative to you and your situation. The question that we get most when we talk about our healthcare programs is, what is it going to cost for me and my family? We have no way of answering that. There's very specific questions that need to be asked. We are not healthcare professionals. So like Mike said, this was something that Clint Fouts, our president and CEO, really wanted to make sure we got right. So it took a long time working and talking to a lot of different companies. We landed on the company we're working with called Clearwater Insurance. The reason why we like Clearwater is that they can provide multitude of options for our agents. There might be a discount plan that's the cheapest for you. There might be real insurance that you're able to hybrid with another package that they provide. So again, it's very specific to what you want to be able to do with your insurance. We have been able to successfully get part-time realtors to go full-time because their need to have benefits through their part-time employer to have health insurance wasn't necessary after they were able to sign up through Clearwater. There's a lot of questions coming in. I'm going to slide back out of camera view so I can try to answer some of those. So Mikey, I don't know if you have anything else you wanted to talk about.
No, I would just also say with it, even if you have a plan and you want a second opinion, I mean, this is an opportunity to shop around. Yeah, so take advantage of it. It's a free call, free consultation. So all you're gonna do is just and I noticed that I got a little typo in that link there. So I know, Nick, you sent out the link. So just click on it.
That's all the questions that have come in are just our agents letting us know that you typoed it. And I appreciate that whenever people call Mike.
Well, I just want you to know when you sent over the link, you didn't have the E after care. So and I can prove
listen.
that.
There's no proof of that. We can see your mistake on the screen, boss.
All right, let's go to the third one. All right, the third thing is marketing assistance. We have a fantastic, and I'm a little hesitant to talk about it because I don't want to take away from the time that they're spending on our projects to help other agents, but I can't be selfish all the time. But we have a great marketing team here at West USA. So if you need help, if you've got an event coming up and you need some design help with flyers or things like that, they are available to you. I will just tell you right now, if you don't use this link here, you will get slapped around. I've learned that. I'll sometimes try to reach out to them directly, and I've learned my lesson. But Nick, what are some of the examples that agents can use our marketing team for outside of just going out and hiring, another service?
So our marketing team at West USA, using the westusamarketing.com link, will provide our agents the ability to have marketing and branding assistance for their businesses, for their teams. So anything that you're looking to do, if it's logo, if you're looking at business cards designed, listing signs designed, you can reach out to our team internally and they can help you with that. Something that I did want to make sure that we're clear on, they're not there to help market listings. There's a lot of different opportunities out there for you to take your listings, whether it be residential, a biz op, commercial, and market that yourself. So that's not what the team is there to do. It's really to help brand you and your business as a whole. If you're not sure what they can do, shoot them an email. westusamarketing.com gets you to an intake form. You can ask specific questions and they will reach out directly. The only people that we rough up are the Weinsteins. Everybody else is more than welcome to reach out to them. It's a great team that we have in the marketing department. Keith Flynn runs the digital side of it, and then we've got CJ and Haley who help with the graphics, and they're both really good at the design stuff. We had a couple of title reps reach out actually last week and ask if our team could start building their flyers for them. They have a lot more resources on that side of the table, so we're going to let them keep doing their thing. But they're great if you look for any help for marketing and branding for your business. If you're not sure what that is, talk to Keith Flynn, find out what he can then teach you in marketing and branding, and then you can use what he learned to work with our marketing team. We see a couple questions coming in. So right now there's not a fee to use the West USA team. Now, we do have to add a little bit of a caveat to that. So if you are working with them and they've got listing signs designed for you and you're on version 7 or 8, there will start to be a fee of the extra additions. We usually do 3. So we'll do an overall design and then you get 3 times to make modifications. And then after that, there will be a fee charged. But again, we try to make this a service available to West USA agents. So work with them, let them know. They're great people. They're good people to talk to.
Be specific in what you ask for too.
Yeah, and great people to sit down and just brainstorm with. If you got some ideas, you're looking for a little bit of direction. But as part of why Todd had to take a full-time job at West USA, the amount of fees that he was getting charged for all his revisions got to be so great he couldn't afford to sell real estate anymore. All right. All right.
Hey,
So,
can I add one piece into this from the broker perspective?
Yeah.
Anytime that you're doing any kind of marketing, make sure that you have that approved through your broker process. As you know, advertising at westusa.com is where you would send that piece, even if it's designed by our own in-house
That's a
designers.
very good point.
Make sure that that gets approved so that we're all remain in compliance.
all right, good stuff. All right, Dwayne. Well, we're going to keep you around. Let's jump into the Fouts Fab Five.
Well, I
You had
appreciate
sent
that.
over. You'd sent over 4 things. Just to let you know, I've added a 5th thing on the very end that I personally want to discuss and that I want to talk about. It's not going to be any kind of catch you. You're going to be ready for it.
Okay.
But let's just jump into some of the things that's on Dwayne's mind as a designated broker. It doesn't seem like wire fraud is going away anytime soon, Dwayne.
Absolutely not. I'll tell you, it's a ongoing problem. The perpetrators are getting more and more creative, more and more skilled. Why they don't put their skills to work in a better manner, I have no idea. But the reality of it is, folks, we need to be on our toes, have our clients be on our toes, have that discussion about them, wire fraud and the potential that could happen. There's nothing worse than having your client email or I get an email and think they're wiring to an escrow or to a title company, and you wake up the next morning to hear that those funds never arrived when they said that they and so.
Well, so let's talk about it. I mean, because we're talking about the wire fraud addendum. So I wake up tomorrow and I find that all of a sudden my buyers just wired $60,000 to an overseas account. The $60,000 is gone. And I look back through the dashboard and I realize I never had my clients sign, at the very least, wire fraud addendum. What kind of liability? I mean, talk about it from an agent's perspective. How much trouble are we in?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's not the wire fraud addendum. It's a wire fraud advisory. And we're going to recommend that you put that on every transaction, whether you're representing buyer or seller. And I can tell you what happens when this event, when you wake up on that morning and your clients have lost that funds, everybody starts pointing at somebody else. It wasn't me, it was hacked, it was somebody else, and so you end up in going through a huge forensic audit with your emails, with the escrow company emails, the lender emails, the client emails. All of that gets through forensic, and it gets pretty detailed. And we recommend always that you implement your dual authentication for your sign-in on your emails. Work with secure emails from your escrow company. But for the most part, have this conversation with your client always. Every transaction, every time, talk about wire fraud. That wire fraud advisory is good material to review with them. Include it with your every transaction. I have made the decision not to make it a required one for your dashboard. But our broker team and myself, we really are talking about the fact that you need to have this conversation with your client. I can tell you that we had 3 folks in our brokerage last year that were victims of wire fraud. In the circles I run in with brokers around town and the legal hotline, attorneys have had multiples of these where they're defending brokers over the last few months. So it's becoming a huge issue, bigger than it was even just a little while ago. Yeah. So always use that wire fraud advisory when you're doing a transaction.
So I don't know whether this is overkill, but one of the things that I do is I'm not even relying on the emails and the security emails we're getting from the title company. My clients are instructed, do not ever wire any money without checking with me and getting all the wiring instructions over the phone, or at least verifying that email came from a title rep. It's just, it's just one way that I'm trying to keep my buyers safe, overkill or not.
Yep, exactly. And the perpetrators are so skilled at making things look like it's coming from a party in the transaction. So you're exactly right, Mike. When those have that conversation with your clients, make sure that they do not respond even to the telephone number that's in those email addresses, right? Because those perpetrators will have folks impersonating escrow officers. If you call that phone number, it's close number to probably to what the escrow number is, and they'll have somebody answer that is impersonating. So just don't go there. Just make sure, like you say, confirm through a known phone number to the escrow company before you ever send any kind of wire.
All right, Nick, let's jump to number 2. All right. This is an interesting one because I know, I mean, we're doing it. We know a lot of people are doing it. And so I'm looking forward to having this discussion, Dwayne. But many of us are using third-party vendors to make calls on our behalf. And there's a lot of companies out there that, that we're using, as dialers. And I know some people, they're doing email campaigns and texting campaigns, but the biggest one for me is, I mean, we are hiring people, inbound sales agents, as we refer to them, on our team, to pick up the phone and start calling. At what point is this considered a real estate activity, and at what point are they required to have a real estate license?
Anytime you're prospecting for real estate services, it's considered real estate activity. And there's a lot of folks that try to get creative with the way they manage this to, stay away from the statutes and so forth. But at the end of the day, anytime you're soliciting for real estate services, you are conducting real estate activity, which means you got to have a license. And these third-party vendors typically do not have those required license, And so, Todd, you want to weigh in on a little bit of that?
Well, certainly enough. The clarification is what is and what isn't real estate activity. But I want to just kind of warn everybody that dialing for expired listings is a huge problem right now. It's considered, if those consumers, even though they've had their property listed with a brokerage or your brokerage, if their phone number is on the do not call list, you cannot call those people online. I mean, you can't text them, you can't email them, and you can't dial the telephone to talk to them. About the only method of communication you have available to you is to go knock on their door. And have a conversation with them. And of course, that's if they don't have a do not solicit sign on the front door. But again, these are just some real big issues that are now. There's some brokers in the country that are under a lawsuit right now, for their agents having called expired listings. And I know it's a different topic, but I just thought it was a good idea to drop that in there.
Well, no doubt about it. Yeah. And that's another aspect of this. And if you want to look at the statute, Mike, I know you always like to do that, right? It's ARS 32-2101-41 or 49. Sorry, 49I, and it's pretty clear as to what is allowed within that.
So kind of going to Todd's point, and just to be clear, for me, I look at it, there are 2 buckets. There's the bucket of data that we acquire and that we purchase for the intent to convert. Yep. And I think, but there's also the bucket of, here's the data that we've collected from people through our marketing efforts that have raised their hands at some point and said they were interested in doing something when it comes down to real estate. And now I'm having an unlicensed person following up with them, trying to set appointments. And that's what really, for us, that our dialers are trying to do, is not necessarily have real estate conversations with them, not talking about their home, not talking about value, but just say at some point you've raised your hand and we now want to schedule an appointment with a licensed professional who now can answer your questions. Where's that fine line?
It can be a very fine line, and if you look at the substantive policy statements from the commissioner's rules, you will see that there's an unlicensed assistant substantive policy statement that would allow for appointment setting by an unlicensed person. That's treading on thin ice, if you ask my opinion, because you're asking that individual who's making those calls to understand what their rules are and what they can and cannot do. And so, in my opinion, if you're going to have somebody doing that, have somebody licensed. That way, you know you're protected and you don't have to worry about it. But yeah, you're right, Mike. Those are exactly where I see that potential part of problem coming from.
So if somebody says, Mike, that are you still interested in selling your home now that your current listing's expired, or are you interested in selling your home? What's the purpose of that question? To solicit for potential real estate service clientele. That now means it falls under licensed activity.
Arguably so, absolutely. So, and the other thing is what you brought up earlier, Todd, was that the do not call registry and the do not text, anti-spam, all that stuff. I do know of one of our agents right now that's defending a lawsuit, by the way, not covered by E&O or anything like that, for texting unsolicited to a potential customer. And this customer has sued under the federal statutes, and he's in the process of writing checks to an attorney to try to resolve that. So this is serious, and you need to pay attention that even if you're using licensed people to do your prospecting, you need to comply with the do not call registries, the anti-spam, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's a good topic that I wanted to bring up because we just have enough of that going on that we don't want anybody getting themselves in hot water.
All right, let's talk about games of chance. This is it seems like this issue doesn't go away, and I don't know whether it's just because every year we got a whole new group of agents that are new to the business, or whatever the case is. But I talk to a lot of seasoned agents, a lot of veteran agents out there, for whatever reason, just don't know the rules when it comes down to games of chance. And let me just set the stage. A prime example is I am going to hold an open house, and I'm wanting to obviously drive as many people to my open house as possible. So I might market something like, come enter a free drawing, and at the end of the open house, we're going to pick a winner, and the winner is going to win a giant screen TV or something like that. That's considered a game of chance. So yay or nay, and what are some of the rules behind games of chances?
Sure. Well, and this is very common. You see it out there way too often. There are specific statutes that cover this in both the real estate rules and regulations, as well as in the gambling aspects of the Arizona statutes. And what really brought this to light was again the legal hotline. We get updates on that regularly from their activity, and this was one that they are seeing more and more of. Questions around what can and can't be done, and also what is litigation that's going on over that, or complaints that are going on. And so again, if the statute that we're referring to really is ARS 13-3301. It essentially says that any kind of game of chance is considered a gambling, and you got to have proper licensing and so forth for that. What's kind of confusing is there's an exemption in there for nonprofits, right? So when you see your realtor association, who is a nonprofit, they can hold games of chance.
Whoa! I know how much my dues are. There's no way that they could be a nonprofit. They're just
you also know how much money you make, and you're a nonprofit, right? But yeah, there isn't a specific exemption for nonprofits in their the Gambling Institute. So, you see that, you think, well, geez, if they can do it, why can't I do it? If you watch the Super Bowl, you saw a big old ad that came through here locally that I'll pay your mortgage for however long, right? You put your name in and whatnot, and that really brought a lot of questions out from the industry as to, well, if they can do this, why can't we do this, and so forth. First of all, we're not going to touch that.
Nope.
It is what it is. The regulatory bodies will address that appropriately, I am sure. If nothing else, there will likely be an investigation. So just know that if you are doing any kind of marketing, do not include any kind of game of chance.
Yeah, there's that other statute, Mike, that you and I have talked about in the past, 322153, which is the commissioner's rights to suspend, deny, or revoke a real estate license. I don't remember the number, but one of the numbers basically says right there that realtors, licensees may not conduct games of chance in search of prospective buyers and sellers, and again, there's a lot of interpretations to the law, and everybody has an answer. The problem is you can have an answer, but you could have done incorrect illegal activity. So the smartest thing is to just remove that from your practice.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I would say, for me, when I went down this road, the lesson learned is if you're going to offer something, you have to offer to everybody. So if it's going to be a Starbucks gift card, I can market it. Everybody that comes into my open house gets a Starbucks gift card. I just better make sure that everybody that comes to my open house gets a Starbucks gift card. And then another way that I see is I see agents bypassing this is by having maybe their lender or their title company coming in and offering the game of chance.
Yeah, but I want to come to your open house where you're offering big screen TVs.
Yeah,
I'll be there.
Well, just enter your name, phone number, and email into my website, and I'll draw the name at the end of the day.
Why do you want my name, phone number, and email?
But
I can have my unlicensed assistants call you.
But I will tell you, Mike, that the same rules apply in social media as well for getting likes or signups on your marketing on the social media. Same type of thing. That's all considered games of chance. So yeah.
Good point. But what about that issue about the title company now being the one that comes in and offers this, and my name is not on the drawing card, or whatever the case is, but the title company is doing it? I see a lot of agents bypassing this rule and doing that.
Well, yeah, to me, if you're participating in that as an agent, you're probably an accomplice to the same problem. And I think the escrow company or title company would probably have some splaining to do as well.
Yeah, and think about the fact of the interruption in your business it'll cause just to be investigated, and the amount of information and things of that nature. Just, again, it's all distractions.
Yeah, good point. All right, let's talk about waiver of appraisal. This is just a good reminder that inside the additional clause addendum, there is a full appraisal waiver verbiage and also an appraisal gap verbiage. Not sure why, and I'm seeing it from other brokerages, Dwayne, of people just taking, writing their own terminology on page 8 of the purchase contract, and really, it oftentimes putting their clients in jeopardy because it's not written properly. But the language is already there in the additional clause addendum, whether you just want to use the additional clause addendum and I guess we should just verify if you're okay with this. Sometimes I'll just take that language and copy and paste it onto page 8 as to not have an additional addendum to maybe make my offer there's a little more cleaner.
Sure, and I'm totally okay with somebody copying the exact paragraph out of the additional clause addendum and pasting that into page 8 with a little bit of a caveat on the appraisal shortfall language. You're going to have to do a little bit of modification on that because that refers to specific line numbers within the additional clause addendum, and those line numbers won't be applicable if you're doing it in copying and pasting that into the page 8. But by the way, that page 8 on the purchase contract is not there for you to write a whole bunch of language in there. The less you can put in there, the better off you are. But anyway, the reason that this topic was brought up is honestly, there is quite often we in the broker's office will get this question. Hey, they waived the appraisal, and then as soon as they got under contract, they did some due diligence, and now they want to conduct an appraisal. And can they do that? And will the seller allow them to access the property to do that, and so forth? And this is an answer that nobody likes, including the attorneys that are on the legal hotline. But there is the fact that when you say appraisal waiver, if you look at that language carefully, it's not an appraisal waiver; it's an appraisal contingency waiver.
Right.
So, and that words do matter,
What's
right?
the difference a word makes? Yeah.
And one little word makes a huge difference. And so that buyer, they would still have the right to conduct their appraisal. They just couldn't elect to cancel in the event that appraisal comes in low.
No, I was just, Dwayne and I were pining on a particular thread written by our we love Jesse Wolnick, of course, attorney in town, specializes in real estate, had been a realtor for years, just a plethora of knowledge. But it's not just her anymore. Rick Mack's now on this, and Scott Drucker's now on this. I mean, it's really gained significant momentum. And she put a thread, Mike, in I think it was Real Estate Agent Forum, but I'm not sure. But it was all about this topic. And some of the things, we talk about the FHA VA amendatory clause and how that's a bank document and required by the banks, and certain things required by the guidelines of a Fannie or Freddie or a government-backed loan. But the point of this whole thing, Mike, was that we've been talking about how, yes, if you write in your contract and you put earnest money is non-refundable as of the end of the inspection period, and then you get your, or you write, appraisal is waived. Well, let's not use the appraisal waiver, but let's just still say you did. The point is that you, first of all, the bank has to do the appraisal, the lender, if you're getting a loan. Secondly, after the loan gets approved, after the appraisal is done, a new document surfaces. And the document that surfaces is the FHA VA appraisal that requires a document, which requires both the seller and the buyer to sign that document. So now all of a sudden the seller is signing a new document after the agreed terms and conditions. And that document that they sign says that the buyer will get their money back if the property doesn't appraise. So it's contrary to the language that was written in. And to be quite honest with you, Mike, nobody really is an attorney. We're all putting language in these contracts, to your earlier point, that we don't even know what we're writing, to be quite honest with you, and how it's totally affected. So Dwayne, you want to maybe just pick up where I'm leaving off and see if there's some items from that thread that somebody could have read that you'd like to make sure everybody understands correctly?
Well, yeah. First of all, that agent forum on Facebook, it's it's a dangerous place to hang out. This particular thread that Jesse put out there was very informative, actually, and came as a result of some of the conversations we had at the Industry Partners Conference through AAR. And the question really came up is that a FHA VA amendatory clause, is it a law or is it not a law? And, if it's not a part of the initial negotiation, how does it impact the transaction overall if it's submitted later and the one party refuses to sign it, So these are all things. So right now, I've always understood as a practitioner that FHA VA amendatory language was federal law, that you couldn't violate that. There's some discussion out there, and according to Ms. Wolnick, that is not actually a federal law. And so I'm in the process of investigating to try to determine that for sure from my prospect. But at the end of the day, if you're dealing with a buyer who is FHA or VA, and that amendatory clause is going to need to be part of your transaction
in order to qualify for
the loan, get it out there with your offer.
Yeah.
Put that in there as with your offer. We know we're in
up front.
And up front, we know we're in a safe harbor at that point. So that's a little off topic of where we were going here, but that's information that I think is very important for those folks that are dealing with FHA and VA borrowers.
When we're taking, Mike, somebody's rights away, or we're taking a contract option away that would potentially help our client, the act of suggesting to our client that they should remove it can impact our fiduciary service to our client. It might even be considered a violation of our fiduciary service, depending upon what the outcome of that act did.
Yeah.
However, to that particular point, this appraisal thing, we're probably going to have another webinar just dealing potentially with negotiating and contract writing on this particular topic.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to just go ahead, Dwayne. I'm sorry.
I say I raised this question or this point just because it is a issue that we get raised with us quite often with our agents that are on the listing side when a buyer does add language in there, whether it's the additional clause addendum or just handwritten that they're waiving the appraisal and then they want to conduct the appraisal. So just know it's the language that is typically in that additional clause addendum says it's a contingency waiver, not a waiver of the ability to conduct an appraisal.
Right. Very important. Well, I would also say that the real estate agent forums, they're like the Wikipedia for real estate.
Good point. Yeah.
So if you are honestly, if you're going to an agent forum to ask a question regarding contracts or things like that, you're in my opinion, you're really doing your clients a disservice, because you're not going to get necessarily the greatest information. And then I would just also say, Dwayne, I'm seeing it a lot, and I'll let them email you, but you guys have created some verbiage to be used for escalation clauses that we have, because I'm just seeing people just really get really creative on escalation clauses and really putting a lot of people in jeopardy. But the last thing that I wanted to talk about, Dwayne, and we've had conversations about this, and we've had different people on the webinar, so I felt like, since you were obviously our designated broker, I would like to get your thoughts on this. So I am a listing agent, and I feel like my fiduciary responsibility is to get my seller the highest and best offer out there. And so I will personally have a verbal discussion with my sellers and confirm it in writing. That's the optimum goal. That when agents do call, I want to let them know where we are currently, what offers we currently have on the table. One, it'll keep that buyer's agent from maybe wasting time. They'll know that their client's not necessarily in the ballpark at all, and they don't want to go through the motions, and they're very appreciative of it. Or it lets that next buyer know if they want a shot at the property, this is where we stand right now. And I call agents all the time, listing agents, that are like, well, I can't tell you anything. That's not fair to other agents. And I'm like, well, it's not real for me. It's not really a matter of being fair. I'm not trying to play nice in the sandbox here. Again, I'm trying to do what I feel puts my seller in the best position to make the most amount of money. I don't want my seller to leave money on the table because I got to play, because it's not fair to other agents. So I wanted to get your perspective on it, because one, this is what I'm doing, so I want to make sure that I'm doing it properly. And two, just give us some guidance, as far as your feelings on the subject.
So you're telling me it's easier to ask for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission?
Well, but in the event that I do get in trouble, this is what I'm having my unlicensed assistant do for me. So,
well, I get where you're coming from, Mike, and yeah, there is a standard of practice in our code of ethics that deals with this. And again, this is a call that comes in quite often to our brokerage from buyers agents in particular. Where they're saying, the listing agent won't give us any more than they can't tell us, or they say, yeah, we have multiple offers. And there's a place in the MLS also that says, multiple offers are received. And if the listing agent's doing their job, they'll update the MLS as soon as that's applicable. But buyers agents want to know, can I be competitive? Is my offer going to be competitive? What are the terms of the existing offers that you have? And it does revolve around a lot of not wanting to waste somebody's time, not wanting to, which I have a little bit of a problem with, because we as agents, we're out there to try to help our agents, our buyers get the property, and so you can't get the property if you aren't in the game. But on the other side of that, I get if you're not even going to come close, why go through the motion? So I get both sides of it. But at the end of the day, the Code of Ethics only requires, when asked, for a listing agent to do two things. If they're asked if they have offers, they have to say, yes, we have offers, or no. And the second thing can be asked is, are those offers generated by you as a listing agent,
Somebody from your office,
or an outside agent?
or an unrepresented party. Yeah.
Or it could be an unrepresented, I guess that's true. But of those two questions, those are the two things that are required by the Code of Ethics. Yes, we have offers, or no, we don't have offers, and who generated those offers. You are not required without seller permission to give any more information than that.
Yeah. So in the code, Mike, or in the contract, both the listing contract and the purchase contract. In the listing contract, it basically asks, the seller, do you want me to disclose the existence of offers? And this started back in 1994 with the Real Estate Agency Disclosure and Election Form. But what happened was, in the contract, in the purchase contract, it says to the buyer in no unequivocal terms, it says the buyer understands that the seller may not keep the terms and conditions of offers confidential. Now, it's the seller, the listing agent must receive permission from the seller to disclose the existence of offers. And then, of course, when asked, the agent now has a code of ethic responsibility to provide, as Dwayne said, one of those three or four, who was the one who presented that offer. But again, just to make sure everybody understands, if the seller doesn't want to disclose the existence of offers, the seller can instruct the listing agent to not disclose the existence of offers. And at that particular point, the other agent's comment, Mike, that you don't like, which is, I'm sorry, we're not disclosing those. We're just having everybody submit highest and best. At that point, it is actually equally as fair a world. Just come to the table with what your best offer is.
No, okay, go ahead, Dwayne. I get that, Todd.
It's just a negotiation tactic, right? From the seller's side. Does the seller want the buyer to be bidding against herself potentially? Or do they want to give each party an opportunity to know what they're playing against? So it's certainly a negotiation tactic, and one that's very frustrating from the buyer's perspective, but there's nothing illegal about that.
Oh yeah, and I guess that's really what I'm getting to is it okay or not? I get it. It's always up to the seller. Totally, completely understand that. But if my seller gives me permission and you call me and say, hey, where are you at? I'm going to tell you, hey, listen, I got a cash offer, $450,000, 5-day inspection period, waiving appraisal. That's my highest and best right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And those, and I get that that's important for folks to know that. So just know though that if you're on the buyer side, that's not always going to be forthcoming. That's just a different tactic to negotiate with.
All right, Dwayne, Todd, appreciate you guys' time. Good stuff this morning. We leave everybody with the quote of the day
from Hawaii.
You must do. From Hawaii, aloha, mahalo, and all that kind of good stuff. But you must do the kind of things you think you cannot do. From Eleanor Roosevelt. Appreciate everybody joining us today, and go out and sell a home.